Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. Even Grumpy is not as grumpy, but he's
Put
here.
that head thing away.
Grumpy is a lovable character. See, look at him. He's just happy. Oh, hold on.
No, he doesn't want to be seen.
He doesn't want to be seen. It's too early. He doesn't want to be seen. But even he's happy. He's kind of like smiling. Matosh is in the house. I thought actually you were going to be joining. I even made a tease last night that I thought you were going to watch the game in the new location. So I actually teased it last night saying you were going to be joining us from the new palace. I
Oh,
expected all the new, like all the servants in the background, kind of like but disappointed, to be fair.
I'm very sorry to disappoint everyone that was waiting. I know that would be the biggest moment of American Scouser history, and I do apologize. I will make up for it one way or another. Give me another year or so.
Yeah, I kind of want like a whole, like all the servants and butlers in the background. You maybe holding the trophy and stuff. I'm sure they'll bring it to you. Something like that would be nice. Cersei is with us. Good morning. Yeah, it's been quiet. Alan doesn't think so. He says it's monumental. I'm big excited. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's interesting to get like the reactions from like different fans. Actually, there are some like BX Gunner who are kind of what you want to like gracious in terms of like like how things unfolded. Maybe Arsenal fans, I feel like, have gotten a little bit more easygoing because of the Champions League. I think because they have something else to hang on to now, they're almost like okay with letting this go. It feels like the tone, there was a lot more like hating going on before. I feel like it's less, and it could be because there's something else to look forward to, something else to push and stuff like that. But obviously we were on the live watch along. Myself, Serzi, Shelton, and Mecca was doing the main hosting over there. So we went into it all together. I honestly think it really felt controlled the emotions a little bit more because we were, laughing and giggling throughout. So it was like it wasn't as emotional, I think, going into it at the end. But so what did you do? Where were you when we won the title, if you will?
I was at the new palace. However, the setup was less than to be desired. I had brought my laptop. I brought one of my monitors, and I put it on the kitchen counter, and I plugged everything into the near the kitchen, and I just had the laptop plugged into the monitor, so it'd be sort of a bigger screen, even though the laptop screen is only just a smidge smaller
I was
than
gonna
the
say, yeah.
monitor screen. Wasn't a big difference. And so we don't have any furniture or anything. So I just stood there. I just stood there the entire time and watched. Um, we had some plans because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law also received their keys for their new house this
Oh, nice.
weekend. So the plan was for us to go there after the match.
Like
Um,
compare palaces, like how many
yeah,
hours does yours have? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. It's and that I mean that could be a whole show in of itself, man. Yeah, besides that, I bought some champagne in the morning to make sure that I didn't want to pop it too early, right? I told Michelle, I was like, look, we're buying this, and she's like, I'm getting orange juice. I'm making mimosas. Like, you're not making a mimosa until things start going well. So first Spurs goal goes in, and I'm like, all right, this is why we didn't open the champagne
You might
yet.
want to throw away those oranges.
Yeah, but as soon as McAllister unleashed that rocket, I ran to the fridge, took that champagne. I was like, "This is it." There's. I think at that moment we felt like
Really?
there's no chance. Yeah, I don't know, something about it. It just felt way too surreal to have it kind of fall back in our face, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, feeling was yes. The moments, honestly, like even I was like, we're going to score this game, and then Diaz's goal comes in, and I was like, told you guys, and and the McAllister goal. I mean, the feeling was there in terms of this is gonna be, they're gonna cruise after this. But I'm amazed, especially you saying like, okay, this is a done deal, and like popping the champagne and stuff like that. You probably didn't see Jota on the pitch, and you were like, all right.
That was the real reason I popped it. Yeah, no, maybe it was after the third. No, I think it was after McAllister. Pretty sure it's after me. I don't know. It sort of blurred all together after a while because I drank an entire bottle of champagne in like an hour, because the deal
Wait,
was that,
you drank the whole bottle, or you guys split the
yeah,
whole bottle?
no, I did.
So what did poor Michelle drink?
She had one little glass, like
That's
that
nice.
big.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
she was part of it. The plan was, the deal was that I was going to celebrate the way I needed to celebrate during the match. We were going to drive because this was in the city,
Oh,
their
because she
house,
had to drive.
so it was a couple hours away, right? And so the deal was that I would drive back, and so I enjoyed myself maybe a little bit too much, and then when we came back, she still drove anyway, because they didn't really have anything.
Poor
They didn't have
Michelle.
anything. They didn't have anything set up for us. We thought that we would have wine or champagne or something, but they didn't really have anything set up. So
Yeah, so it just says Michelle drank orange juice.
that's all she got. That's why she got it.
But anything different in the final whistle? I mean, it was odd because, like, Kazi, a couple of people joined us after the show. I think a lot of were watching the post-match festivities, which I went afterwards and watched. Because as we were doing it, I was like looking at it. I'm like, oh, we're missing some of these interviews and stuff like that. But I went back afterwards and watched it. But any like thing special for you when the whistle goes? Because, like I say, Kazi joined us and he said he was bawling, and Kazi was bawling. Kazi, the bored guy from the title run, was bawling. Were you bawling with the champagne? It's just the alcohol, or like, oh,
Yeah, there were tears. I
really?
don't want
Okay.
to. Yeah, I don't want to say I was bawling. It was. I think it was more of a release. I think from the last several years more than anything,
Okay,
because I
don't
feel like
dance
there's.
around. Were there tears? Were there like, because you were like, there were tears, but not bawling. So just
Yeah,
teary eyes. Like, is there dust in the room? Kind of. What are you
no,
doing?
like a few little streams like coming down,
Oh,
right?
well,
But
that's
it wasn't.
bawling.
It
That's
wasn't like
blood
hands and
from the bawling.
face. Yeah, it wasn't like hands and face, like on my knees, like just crying out for the Lord kind of thing, or bawling, right? I
I want to see that, but okay.
No, I mean, and no shame if that's how you did it, right? That's just not what I was doing. But I think it was more of a release from the last couple of years, just all the frustration, all the emotions around all the players leaving, staying, Klopp leaving, Slot coming in. It was an amalgamation of the entire process of from 2020 to now. I think it was just that all together. It was quite an emotional thing, because I think, especially when you see like Virgil, Mo, and Ali celebrate, and Trent too. I mean, I don't want to discount anyone's celebration, but I feel like emotionally, when we're looking at players who we saw win the league before, but weren't able to really celebrate the way that we thought they deserved to, and we always talked about, if this was their only Premier League title, like obviously it will always celebrate it, but it'd be such a shame for that group of players to never really be able to fully celebrate. So to see Verge, Mo, Ali, and Trent and Robbo be able to actually have that real moment, that they didn't necessarily have last time, I think that was just part of everything.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part. Like, I wasn't, like I say, it kind of helps because there's four of us like goofing around in the broadcast, so that kind of like eases it a bit more. I I only got emotional when I saw them emotional, I guess, more than anything else. Especially like, I mean, Ali, which Mecca said he was already calling on Thursday that he'd be the first one to cry, and yeah, I think when you see that. I know I was telling Angie as we were like watching some of the celebrations and stuff afterwards that I am more happy for those guys because it felt like that was almost a moment stolen away from them with COVID and stuff like that. So for those guys to get to it again and do it again, I mean properly in the sense that with fans and everything like that, and kind of like worked out perfectly where I think the universe kind of lined it up where it was like a home game, mind you, against Spurs. I mean, it couldn't have been like laid out any better. A draw is enough and stuff like that. So it was nice to see those guys get their moment, and you can kind of tell that they had, it. You could tell that this was a lot better for them, right? Like just by the reaction, you could tell it was better than them. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. I think that Betty's points. It was a great match in terms of I did want it to be an emphatic game that was the game saying like, "Psst, we're the champions," kind of a thing, as opposed to, like tying it. You still celebrate and stuff. Like, let's face it, we would still celebrate like crazy. But I kind of liked the way the game unfolded, where you made a statement saying like, "That's right, bitches, we're the best team around here," kind of a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and that was the cherry on top, right? I mean, that was the big thing. And like you're saying, if let's say it was, we were down 2-1, 92nd minute, score an equalizer, still win the league. Maybe at that moment, celebratory, it would be bigger, like as in like the players just celebrating that specific goal. But
Yeah,
having the statement that you make when all you hear about is, oh, the league is just weaker than it has been, and this nonsense and all that crap, even though this team could end up being, one of the top 4 best finishing Premier League seasons ever, whatever anyone else wants to say, it's absolute crap. But you put that statement on there and just say, this is our league. This is it. This is what we've done the entire year. This isn't a fluke, right? I mean, they beat Spurs 6-3 before. We put another 4 or 5 past them in the Carabao semifinal, right? So it's
yep.
one of those where you can sit there and go, it's not a fluke. This is the team. This is what we do. This is our title, and this is how we're going to win it.
Yeah, yeah, that was great about it. I really thought that was, as we were watching it, and I think it's odd because we were confident. It's funny that Sir Z says it, because that was our very first live watch along. Because one, I'm not that great at, I don't think a lot of people want to see me, or maybe it could make great TV, and I'm not sure like they would like enjoy it, because I'm all over the place as I watch it and stuff. So it was the very first live watch along, and I told Sir Z, because it was Sir Z's idea. I didn't even think about it. I kind of figured we would do like a long post match where we all jump in, once the emotions settle down, kind of a thing. But yeah, and then we go down 1-0. I'm like, don't freaking tell me, because that would be, after preparing all freaking day, it would suck. But for those who are concerned, because there were 5 goals involved, and that, and I'm not gonna run downstairs every time. And we were watching really calm. See, that's the thing. There are times where I watch a game. I watch usually the Champions League games upstairs and Premier League games downstairs. And if I scream, Stitch and Leo know downstairs, hey, something good happens. Where are the snacks? And then sometimes I run downstairs, sometimes I forget and stuff like that. But yesterday, obviously, I wasn't going to leave the broadcast every freaking 5 seconds. But I am glad to report these are 2 guys after the game, because after big games, finals, wins, and stuff like that, they kind of get the bigger snacks. So they did
Ooh.
get the huge snack at the end of the game instead of 5 little ones for each goal, kind of thing. So I know there was concern during the broadcast. People were asking. So there you guys go. They were fed, so they don't have anything to worry about over there. Kevin says, well, so weird watching EPL during COVID, like watching WrestleMania with no crowds. That's what I like about it. I mean, you could tell the difference the fans make in an environment, first of all. And I know they tried to do it, and I'm sure the last week, when they raise the trophy, will be special as well. But you can kind of tell the difference just watching the guys. Or do you think they appreciated it even more because they knew how the first one was, for those who were there?
For those who were there, definitely the latter, about appreciating it more, because there were people there. I think you always hear about players talking about, rising to the occasion and getting that energy, that boost from the fans. We've heard, Mo talk about having his song sung and how that gives him a boost, or Lucha talking about it too. And so for the guys that have been there, done that, it definitely was a huge moment to have with the fans. And for everyone who hasn't won it yet, I mean, that's their first experiences with the fans, and I don't
Yeah.
think they could have asked for a better experience. You got guys like McAllister, who now officially has finished football at 24, 25 years old, right? He doesn't need to play anything else. He's already got every single trophy he needs to, outside of like a Ballon d'Or, the individual ones, right? But it was just absolutely wonderful to see, and it just felt like a group of guys that seriously did deserve everything, especially after how last year ended emotionally, I think, for that entire team.
I think maybe like, Mecca, Sobosla, and stuff might be saying like, this is so freaking cool. But the other guys are probably more like, man, this is really cool, and like we really wanted this because you don't like maybe like they appreciate it a tad more because they have the other one, whereas Sabastai and Mecca might not know any better. John says, morning guys, took a day off, got an oat milk hangover. Yes, you guys will get along
Oat
great,
milk.
John. Going to Starbucks and we one of those people who take like 30 seconds to order because you got to rattle out like a football play call or something like that. But I do not approve and do not want to have any of us like tipsy or drunk on air. I might make an exception for John because I would like to see John drunk on air. That would be some fun. Mecca hasn't won the Champions League.
Oh
He
no,
won
you're
things
right.
that
Oh, I
months.
messed up. No, he still has to play next year.
Departments.
After next year, he'll be able to retire. That'll be fine.
So this was interesting though, and I have always thought this. And yesterday, as we were watching it, kind of like Angie and I were saying, did you see Mo's post-match interviews?
Yeah.
Okay, with him talking about how this is special because he's winning it without the other guys like Bobby and Sadio. And this is why I'm glad he was signed to an extension because you can kind of tell the drive. I mean, I'm a big Kobe fan, almost like a psychotic approach to the sport in some ways. But he had the same thing, right? Like he wanted to win it without Shaq, kind of a deal. That was something that was bugging him. Like listening to him, like knowing his numbers, records, and stuff like that. He reminds me so much of that kind of a personality where he has a ridiculous ego. They were talking about afterwards, like after the interview, they cut to the studio and he's like, because of his culture, he's so humble and stuff like that. I do not consider more humble at all. I think he's like a very cocky dude in a respectful kind of way. Um, but you can, yes, Mamba mentality as from Moses. Yeah, I really liked hearing that because you can kind of tell it's a guy who has a freaking constant freakish drive, if you will.
And I'm sure it's not easy to, as much as we would like to say, hey, just don't read the stuff you see online, but they're human. People will see it. Even us here, some of our clips that get put out there, some comments may be made and we don't want to pay attention to it. But sometimes, many weeks later, you go back and think in your head, oh, that asshole that said whatever that was, it just pops into your head. That's not speaking from personal experience at all, but
no,
not a smidge. But for Mo, I'm sure he gets tired of seeing and hearing about, oh, well, those clop ears with that trio, the Mo, Mane, Bobby, right? I mean, that's whenever we think of that team, we think of them three. We don't think of them individually, right? We think of them as a front three. And for him to be able to sit there after the match and go, this is what I wanted, what drives me is to be able to be remembered. I mean, this is not what he said. This is what I'm saying for him, to be remembered for himself and not be remembered as a collective, right? Yeah. And that is the kind of freakish personality, the Mamba mentality, this and that you only see in a few players. Because some people have that mentality, but they don't have enough skill or athleticism or talent or anything to back it up, right? But when you have all those ingredients together, it makes a pretty dangerous kind of player. And I think he knows that, and he wants to be remembered as Mo of Mo Salah Liverpool and not Mo of Mo Mane Bobby.
Yeah. See Saido's here. Saido, this is the first time I've seen Saido happy without complaining about FSG or transfer or anything like that. Not today. We're not doing that today. But KDPC, for the record, yes, Matush was not aware. This was like a couple of months ago, for the record, so I'll tell the story. So Matush was not aware that some of our Facebook reels really go crazy. I mean, obviously, we're a lot newer to the YouTube side of things. So we do get, some negative comments here and there and stuff. But I'll be honest, it's been mostly like positive, like the stuff we get on YouTube. Facebook is a different story. First of all, we go out to a lot more thousands of people. So a lot more people say, so a lot of hate messages, a lot of us people telling us to stick to baseball or, we don't know what we're talking about, and somehow calling me a Yank because I really sure sound like one, and all that kind of stuff. So Matush wasn't aware of this. So once I sent him a couple of links to read the comments, yeah, I mean, he didn't come out of his room for like 3 days. Several bottles of alcohol were consumed.
But here I am because skin is thick as anything you could think of. Yeah, that's me, baby.
Okay, yeah, let's let him go and give him credit for first of all getting a guy like Slot, and before that getting a guy like Klopp, because these guys are not like parachuting down to the position; they're being hired by the powers that be. But yeah, John says Saida, we won the league with Gravenberg at the 6, so yes. No, I mean I don't know, man. It was like listening to the post match interviews and stuff. That was probably the only one that made everything else was more standard issue. You're like happy for him and stuff like that. But I think Mo's was the most telling in terms of that drive. Maybe he's like, yes, we won with me, the only one who's effective up top, as opposed to the old regime. But I think Kevin was saying, let me ask you that. Kevin was saying that he's been watching Liverpool 47 years. This is probably the best team he has seen. Do you agree? Do you? I mean, I find that this is like a probably like a couple of hours argument, first of all, and I don't think anybody will agree on this. But how do you think this team fares against the last team?
That'd be a
That won?
really that'd be a really interesting simulation to be able to have against each other, right? Because yeah, right. You'd have to do like 50 simulations, as you can't do a one-off, right? You have to do enough to make it not
here.
That'll be the summer project. Just a big old.
I'll give you 3 best of 3 series.
Okay, fine. I think it's a good question. I think it's difficult. Obviously, I don't have 47 years of Liverpool to compare. I've got 30.
For the record, I don't either. So let's, okay, go ahead. I know where this one's going. So yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
It's hard for me not to give the edge to the previous title winning year, the 1920 team, because I don't know, just the way that team was able to finish going forward. Every time they went forward on a counter, you felt like the ball was going in.
Yeah.
This team, you don't get that same feeling. They play a little bit differently, so you can't compare that specifically, but you just don't get the same sort of defenses don't get the same fear of this team going forward as much as they would have from that team going forward, I think. And that's why I think the edge goes a little bit towards that team. Because defensively, I think this team may be a little bit more consistently solid. I think there were better defensive games with the 2020 winning side, but not as consistent. But I think because of the consistent attacking, that 2020 has to take the edge.
See, so this says the 1920 team is the best he's seen. Followed by, see, I think this is semi-fair, right? Like I think the 1920 team would beat the heck out of the 87-88 team. I think a lot of the Premier League teams right now would beat the heck out of the 87-88 team, just because of how the times have changed, the physical ability and all that kind of stuff. Not to mention bring the 87-88 team to this new set of rules, and they were like, so we can't touch anybody, what's going on over here, kind of a deal. So different eras are, I think, like, not even fair to compare. This is, I think, close enough where we can compare it. John says this could be the ultimate talking, but he says he agrees with you. Yeah, and I think that's the only part. But let me give you this twist. The strength of that team was pressing, right? Could this midfield come out of that press a bit easier with McAllister? Because you're not, obviously the back fours are the same, right? Ultimately, you have, so like maybe you're putting Matip or Gomez instead of Konate. I don't think you're gaining or losing a lot there. Maybe like Matip can be like an X factor or whatever, but you're mainly comparing like midfields and the front lines. Front lines probably is no comparison. But when you look at the midfield, do you think the ability of like McAllister and Gravenberg and Szoboszlai on the ball to be able to get out of the press would cause big problems going that way to that team, who was always very exposed in the back for teams that came out of the press?
It depends if they're up for it. I know it's a shitty answer, but when I'm thinking of
A little bit of
when you
both.
when you think of Genie Henderson and Fabinho, right? I when I compare that and I think of a team like Newcastle that has Joelinton, Bruno, and Tonali that we played in the final, I feel like they would have played like that against us, against this team. I feel like they wouldn't have had as much problem in the midfield then. So that's why I do think that even though I think talent wise across the board, midfield wise, this midfield is more talented and more skilled. But I think with the way that they're set up and how they would play, I think the battle would be won by the 1920 team because of a reason like seeing how Newcastle pressed against us and how we couldn't break through the midfield. I would very much make those midfields similar in my head, thinking that, Fabinho and company are similar to Bruno and company in that sense. And I don't think that we would get out through that as easily. So I still think I give the midfield an edge in 1920 because of how well they played together and they played within their roles.
Yeah.
I just don't think, as talented as this midfield is now, it's a different kind of midfield, and I don't think they'd get through it easier.
In both instances, though, you have Sadio Mane going against Trent, or you have Diaz going against Trent. So either way, I would be
the
horrified.
left wing's
I
gonna
would be
be fried.
horrified.
Trent's gonna be so tired from defending Mane on one end and Diaz on the other. Man,
Uh, yeah, can you imagine? They were like 10-9. I'm not comparing players because you can't. I'm comparing levels of excitement and drama. But honestly, like levels of excitement and drama, I feel like this team has had a lot less drama. Maybe because I see. I don't know though. The other team was like running away with it too. That other season was so jacked up. Oh, you mean Gakpo against Trent? Yeah, I guess you could have
oof.
Gakpo against Trent, but maybe Jota is starting. Hmm. You never know. Yeah, I don't know. That's like an interesting point by Kevin there. Do you consider this season to be more exciting than that season?
Uh, I wasn't ready for that question today. I
A
thought we
little
were
bit
just
of
gonna.
both.
I thought we were just gonna
Let me
talk
answer
about
for you. A
the
little bit of
present
both.
winners. The present winners. That's all we care about. I think it's. Man, it's tough because of that break of those 3-4 months.
Yeah.
It's hard to have that same sort of level of excitement um, that we had yesterday because yeah, it was on the back of quite a dramatic season of last year and going into the unknown with Arne Slot, with not knowing what that is going to look like, and the culmination of that being a Premier League title. I think it has to be a bit more exciting, but only because of the break. If let's say 1920 team, there's no break. Again, they probably end the season at like 110 points or something ridiculous too. Then I think obviously that would have been more exciting because it would have been the first one in 30 years and all that. But yeah, it's I think I have to give the edge to yesterday only because of the world around it, unfortunately, and just circumstances that the players couldn't control.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Because it did feel weird. Cersei says we had more drama off the pitch this season with the contract. You had more drama, Cersei. I've been saying it for months over here, and this is why I didn't want to do the contract talk over and over and over again on American Scouser TV, especially on the shows that I was hosting, because we kind of, I mean, that was just not even I don't even consider that a drama. Aside from the trends was the only drama, which still is the only drama. It always felt like, I know, like, Mo made a couple of statements and statements and stuff like that during the deal, but it just felt like, I don't know. I believed them when they said, maybe it's naive of me, but when those two guys said, I want to stay here, and when Van Dijk said it was always Liverpool, I believe that. I really think it was just like, just make it freaking work. And yesterday as we were watching, we are talking. I mean, these guys have families and stuff like that. You have a great situation. Why mess with it? I can understand Trent being a little bit more different. I think you're looking more career and stuff like that. But why, and I think you can kind of tell that obviously they like what's going on, right? Compared to the club era and stuff like that. And they were probably reassured that it's going to keep going and we're not going to just be like, okay, we won. We're going to sit, which is kind of what we did last time. We just added the cherry on top and stuff like that. We didn't do a lot of changes. So it'll be interesting to do what we do. So let me answer that, because that was the thing. Like, out of all the interviews, that interview was the most interesting, I guess. He talked about his discussion with Slot in terms of like how he is used. What did you learn from that? Or what
Uh,
was your reaction to hearing that?
that he's just been a little tired the last couple of years. he he needed a little bit of a break, and he got a little bit of a break.
Bullshit, man. Like,
I also think it was interesting. I don't know if you caught Gakpo's interview at all, or if you heard a little snippet from it. Not to change the subject entirely, but here I am because I'm just thinking of it now. There was, and I think the players themselves probably know a little bit more than we do. At least I would think. And he talked about Mo staying, Virgil staying, and hopefully Trent staying. And he said it in a way where it sounded like what we've been saying is that it's not done entirely.
so you're saying
That
there's a chance.
I think I'm up to like 40% staying now, and I was at
Really?
like 20%. I don't know. It was just that one sentence from him. It was weird to think that he would have said it if he didn't think there was actually a chance. I think he
I
would have
did not
just
catch that actually. So he said, and hopefully, if Trent is staying.
let me get the right quotes, then I don't get destroyed.
Yeah,
You know,
because Cersei's got
because
the fact checking machine over there.
this is how these things happen, right? One person says something, and then another person hears it however they want to hear it, and then the game of telephone ends up with all of us just crying in the toilet.
I'm
Again,
glad you said that, because I was like,
personal
what the hell was the
experience.
name of that game? But yeah, it is telephone. Good job.
I'm gonna find it. So if you want to keep talking to everyone, I'll
Oh,
find it.
well, I'll talk to everyone. Here's some good news. By the way, if you're watching us live right now, give us a thumbs up, do the sharing and liking, notification, all that. Hit all those things while you're watching it. Appreciate everybody being here. By the way, here's some other big news over here. We've been kind of working on this for a while, but we do have a new sponsor. So that is great news by itself for us over here in American Scouser. So Jayla Fashions is going to be one of our new sponsors on the show. They do a lot of like custom apparel and stuff like that. Actually, you can kind of shop our entire collection of. If you go to their website, I will throw a link over here as well. But if you do go to their website, you can kind of see our entire. They do host our entire collection over there, and they're the ones that will print them and ship them out and stuff like that, getting it directly from them. So I would recommend you check that out right there. But most importantly, because of yesterday, we have this brand new beauty right here, also available in black and stuff like that. So kind of like announcing their sponsorship with a bang over there. Oh, I'm sorry, you missed it. You were looking away. So there's the red version. There's also a black version. I personally like the black version better, I think, but that's a different story. But yeah, and it's like very affordable, if you will, because the goal is really not to. It will also have like the American Scouser logo in the back and stuff like that. So. See, John is all over it. John still wants that red shirt, red hats that I will have them add to the site so John can go and purchase that. But yes, so yeah, some good news over there as well. And you have the quotes. We're back to you in the studio. Okay, here you go. You're gonna get us canceled.
Are we live? Hello, hello. Are we live? Hello. All right, here. Over to Cody. Over to Cody.
On the team as well. Now with Mo and Virgil staying, and hopefully Trent as well, then you can keep building.
I was convinced that he was leaving, and then I heard that, and and now I don't know what to think anymore.
I don't know. I didn't take it as positive as you made it sound, but yeah, I did miss that, honestly. Yeah, that would be like, I don't know. At this point, I'm almost done with it, so I don't want to go back to it, if you will. But if it happens, I'm not gonna be like, damn it. But I'm gonna be like, I know who I'm gonna be yelling at for the next freaking couple of years defensively. So that will sort that thing, because I just don't see a Trent who has signed a new contract saying, "Oh, let me twist around 3 degrees here, 4 degrees there to play better defensively." I just don't. And there's a couple of moments yesterday as we were watching the game that he did a couple of passes, and I was like, yeah, this is I just don't see Slot liking this. Like, I don't see Slot saying like, nicely done, way to turn the ball over in midfield with an unnecessary pass kind of thing, because I don't think he plays like that. But when you have a guy like Trent, you kind of give him the leeway because of his skill and say, yeah, do your thing, I guess. But going back to Mo that you tried to run away from, he kind of like, it sounds like it was a similar conversation with him in that sense, saying like, if you have a guy like Mo and he feels like he can do this for you, then go for it. I just found it very interesting because if you say that to a guy like Mourinho or Ancelotti or whatever, I don't know if their reaction is like, so what would you rather do? Let me think about that. I would think most managers would be like, it's my way or the highway. There's a new sheriff in town, kind of a deal.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to then what their man management is like. And Slot has always been regarded well for his personal relationships and his one-to-one and his communication with the players. So I think part of that is understanding what players see in themselves and what they want to get out of themselves and being able to work that in. And maybe part of it is him recognizing, yeah, this guy is 32, 33 years old. I shouldn't have him do as much as he was doing, because if I want him to extend his contract, if I want him to be for another 2-3 years to be able to do what I need him to do, if I run him to the ground this year, I'm not going to get any of that in the next 2-3 years anyway. So I think there's got to be a little bit of balance between both the manager and the players. Obviously, there's going to be managers that have their way or the highway, like you're saying. And then there's going to be managers that let the players do whatever they want, and then their manager's usually out of a job within 6 months. You've got to be in the middle, maybe leaning more towards like, this is how I do it, but also meeting some players halfway. Because just like in athletes and sports and in life, people receive information differently. People take criticism differently. People take direction differently. And you have to know what each person's specific style of that is to get the best out of them. So I don't think, like for Gravenberch, for example, I think, obviously we can talk about Klopp's system not being the right fit for him, but maybe the way that Klopp talked to Gravenberch was a lot different than the way that Slot talked to him and was able to get more out of him. Granted, they probably spoke in Dutch and understood each other a little bit better, but there's still a point to that where there was going to be, maybe they met in the middle somewhere a little bit easier than where Klopp wanted Ryan to be. I don't know. I just called him Ryan. That was weird.
You guys are tight like that.
That's my 6, baby.
Kevin says my first season watching 1977, and he was, hey, we found somebody older than I am. That's why I love Kevin. See,
are we sure Kevin is a Palace fan?
Kevin is a Palace fan, but at Palace we actually was in our trivia as 4 times or 5 times. Kevin will know better, that a team that's been relegated. We were talking about the teams that were relegated the most, kind of a thing, and Palace was definitely up there in contention over there. So one of those seasons, Kevin might have been like, you know what, screw this, kind of a deal, and like started supporting Liverpool as well. But I kind of get that. I know what you mean. The age thing, I think, makes a bit more sense to me, and say, you know what, okay, let's take a look at what you can do and stuff like that. I just found it interesting that, one, Slot would entertain that, and 2, it would almost like, go with it, because that means you're tweaking something else. And I can understand why he would say, okay, I have like a star on my hands, and I'll go with like what he's saying, and I'll adjust accordingly. Like, I'll tell Szoboszlai to do this then, or something like that. Maybe that's why Szoboszlai was bitching about in the interview 2 days before that, saying like, I have to do a bit more running, blah, 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 not as creative and all that kind of stuff. But here's what I was thinking as he's saying that. Do you think it's a different conversation if Mo has signed already for like 3 years? Or because he more had, because it did feel like to me, and I kind of said this, and I know I'm not going off that one incident, because Mo is pissed off when he's coming up in the 93rd minutes and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that West Ham incident. I think it was a West Ham game, right? Yep. I'm not talking about incident, but overall, you could tell last season he was not a happy man compared to the Mo you're watching right now. Obviously, because of the results, he could be a lot happier. But throughout the season, you see a more happier Mo. I really don't know if Mo resigns if Klopp is still here. Do you think that conversation goes totally differently because Mo is kind of holding more cards and be like, I'll do what you want. I got another 8 months over here, but and then Slut kind of maybe changing his tune accordingly. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying, do you think that's a big factor in there?
Yeah, I think it has to be, because I think if there wasn't an idea, somewhat of a, maybe don't want to call it like a gentleman's agreement, but a gentleman's understanding of what Mo was wanting to do. I think Slot may have tried some different things this year as far as the forwards go. And I'm not saying like not starting Mo as much, but maybe taking him off more, right, and trying some other stuff up there. Maybe we would have seen Case some more in the right wing, or maybe we would have seen Harvey up there, or Sobo up there, like just trying different things, because he knows that this is not what he can plan for in the future. So he's going to get the best that he can for this season, but he has to really look past this season. And so I think there had to have been some sort of an understanding that Mo was going to be there to be as prominent as he was, even though he was going to always be that prominent regardless, because he's just the legend at the club right now. But yeah, I think there had to have been a little bit of an agreement that he was staying, because I think Slot would have just tried a lot more different things. I don't know. He had to have known beyond this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I think there has to be some part of it, and he would have probably done it differently. But I don't think it's going to change moving forward. Now you have like a working relationship going already, right? Like a communication and everything like that. Initially, that's totally different, like setting standards and saying this is what we want. And I think, a guy like Mo, we talked about earlier how he's like, like a killer mentality and stuff like that. That's a guy you want there. I think as a manager, as a boss, you want people like that to set the standard and turn around to the other guys and say, follow this guy's lead, kind of a deal. Adnan says, still got tears in my eyes. That's odd. And I do understand that there were a lot of people with like emotions. Like I say, I do get emotional, like watching people get emotional, if that makes sense. But I don't know why. Maybe because it was coming all along, like you kind of got that emotion, to at least for me, kind of like layered off. And I know there's a huge release, like you said, when it does actually happen and you see what it means to these guys and stuff like that. But yeah, I did not get Mediterranean man in me hiding the emotions, baby. No, not really. I think it was more because it kind of like it was coming all along, like you knew for the last 2 to 3 weeks that it was more of like a when, as opposed to
2-3 months, maybe.
Was it 2-3 months? Like for me, it was 2-3 weeks. I think the City win. I want to say that when we came out of that, what was that, City, Newcastle, and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I think we got this. But even then, when you lose a point, you're like, I know what's gonna happen. And you see Arsenal and stuff, but I don't know. The last 2-3 weeks, I felt like, as pessimistic as I am, it's a matter of when, not if. So I think it kind of gets it leveled out a bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll make it make sense. Everyone is allowed to celebrate.
When we're using you to make sense of things. Go ahead.
Everyone is allowed to celebrate and feel the things that they feel in their own way. It's just like dealing with guilt, or not guilt. Sorry. I guess, I mean,
that was a slip.
Dealing with people passing away, right? Dealing with those kinds of emotions that everyone has to go through it their own way. And on the other side of the coin, people go through happiness and celebration in their own way. There's not one way that's better than another way. So
Sinan is with us. Sinan, hoş geldin. See, Turkish fans are all over the place right here. Actually, I was talking to my buddy who's out in New Orleans. He's Turkish as well. Yeah, he's like, he's talking about the importance of the leaders as well. Because I do think that, and that's another thing. You watch those celebrations, you look at the squad. That was a Freudian slip, wasn't it? Yeah, it definitely was. So I'm going to forward that to Michelle. That showed is going to Michelle. But
it's a good thing she doesn't watch these shows.
Oh, she'll get that clip. Don't worry. But Kevin says, I still got Raku on my breath. I am probably should be ashamed as somebody Turkish, but I can't stand rakı. By the way, have you ever had it? Being the
No.
bartender that you are,
This
have you had
this
ouzo?
no.
Really?
Uruzo?
Ouzo, like the Greek version? Same thing.
Uzo. I probably
Isn't it
would have need.
ouzo? I think it's ouzo. Now you made me question it. I'm pretty sure it's ouzo. It's basically like a black licorice liquor that is strong as hell.
Oh, I've had like sambuca. Is that similar? You think?
I don't know what the hell that is, so we like
Black licorice liquor.
Funny, actually, like talking about liquor, we were at Binny's the other day, and I saw like Angie was like, "Hey, they have Malort or whatever that you always talk about," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not taking that. I'm not trying that." Lost 2 Champions League and 2 leagues, so winning this was really emotional to me. And yeah, and that's totally fair. I think really some of that relief is. I think Adnan makes a good point there. Some of that relief is from built-up tension of disappointments or built-up disappointments being released and some PTSD maybe of something going wrong along the way.
Yeah, I mean, just the entire time the match was going, I just in the back of my head, I'm thinking, where is City going to come from behind and win right now? Like, what is going on over there? But they're playing for the FA Cup, so it's just like they're worlds away right now. But all I can think about is again that stupid end of the season when we played against Wolves and they played against Aston Villa and they went down 2-0. Like that's
G.
And that's just what we've have to have been through the last freaking 7-8 years, man. So and that's why the release was just so good because
company goal from like 80 yards out, like he can take that shot another 1,000
that's
times.
What I was hoping. If McAllister's goal, obviously it was an absolute banger, and I love that. But if that was Van Dijk, it would have had the same feeling, not the same exact feeling, because the race is a lot farther apart now. But I would have loved to have had that screamer from Van Dijk to kind of match that company screamer finally.
But speaking of Greeks, says Sergi, okay, wasn't Kostas there the last time? Am I losing it over here?
No, he was not. You are losing it.
Who was the backup left back last time we won the title? Moreno was gone. I was going to look this up, and I never got a chance. So I don't know if anybody can remember this, but who was our backup left back the season we won the league last time?
Joe Gomez.
Milner, maybe. Actually, now that you mention
it might have been Milner.
Where Milner played a lot of left back.
I'm looking it up. I have it loading right now.
John says Milner too. Yeah, I could. Last time when they said that as I was watching it, I was like, no, it's not. He won it last time. So I did not.
Yeah, I mean, had to have been Milner.
You look at he was in Olympiacos in 1920.
Because there's names like Larouci, Gallagher, Adam Lewis, James Norris, and Nathaniel Klein. I mean, it just.
Klein was there. See, Angel said Klein. I'm like, Klein was a right back. We were trying to figure it out. Klein was in that title-winning squad?
Klein's there, yeah.
Dude, did Klein play that year? No way. Are you serious?
He's on my screen. I don't know what to tell you.
Are you using like some Angie's Wikipedia or some shit?
Transfer Market. There's we also because he was number 2. He was on that squad.
Dude, do you remember Klein ever playing with that team? Because I remember Klein there initially, but then once he lost the spot to Trent, I don't think we never saw Klein again.
No, but he was there apparently.
Really? Well, this is interesting. Angie's gonna give me a lot of shit because I poo-pooed it yesterday. I was like, no, Klein wasn't there. But anyway, he wasn't left back anyway, so it had to be Milner probably playing.
I mean, unless he was loaned out at some point.
What was Klein's first name?
Nathaniel.
Okay, now we're gonna have to pull up. You know, you're making this totally got on a tangent over here, but this is what we do every morning. He was on loan at Bournemouth. Thank you. That season, 19 to 20.
He was.
Boom.
He was.
Kevin says Klein's still going hard on Palace bench. I heard he was going hard on some stuff for a while, right? There were rumors about him.
Going hard on something.
Yeah, going hard on something else, but yeah. I don't think that ever. Actually, the rumors were that's why he was kind of like sent away from the team because he would have been like a capable backup.
Yeah.
So when we loaned him out in that offseason, the rumors were because there's a suspension coming his way. I don't think that ever happened at the end, but yeah, he's been at Palace since 2020. Now for next season, see, Adnan has already wiped the tears, threw the tissue away. Now what are we gonna do? Kind of a thing. And honestly, that's what I was thinking. Just stick to baseball.
Rude as hell. You could say any other sport, but don't do that to me. That's just rude. That's just rude.
And John is on this Delap thing after he just dumped Gravenberg seeing Delap on the side or something like that because he's been pushing the Delap tickets for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. If we want to play this game, let's play this game. Why in the official Liverpool picture of the 1920 squad with the trophy, why is Nathaniel Klein right there then?
Because they take that middle of August, bro.
I know. I'm trying.
Stick to baseball.
Man, I can't even.
Whenever I say that, I'm going to use that now. I like what Cersei came up with. I'm going to be like, you know what? Stick to baseball. Playing behind the palace with the servers. Karan is here. Arsenal fan here. Congrats to you guys, man. Hope we will challenge better next season. I hope not, but yeah. I don't know. I really think Arsenal fans have kind of turned around a little bit from the disappointment because they have Champions League. Heck, I mean, we've done it before, right? When we got eliminated from things, but we had something substantial to hang on to, not like League Cup or something like that. Was substantial to hang on to and keep it going. I think that's what they have. And are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for to win in the Champions League? By the way, just out of curiosity.
PSG, because that looks the best for us.
Yes, I'm on the same boat over here. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same boat. I don't know if would be rooting for Arsenal, English Premier League and stuff. There's how they're the NFC West. It's like no one cares if it's not your team. So yeah, okay. I'm on the same boat over here, but no evidence against Klein, says Cersei. That's plea bargain going on over there. It's something like an insider over there. But okay, I don't know how the hell we got to this topic with Klein and stuff anyway. But we were talking about Costas. Why don't you guys want us to get revenge on PSG? Because I think then you lose out to the champion, right? Are we on the same boat here?
Correct. And you guys will be a lot more insufferable.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, Karan, but you guys have your fan base can go. I mean, I think every fan base does, but I mean, I blame Arsenal Fan TV. They've kind of started this where, I mean, the change is ridiculous from hot to cold is obnoxious. And like you say, our fan base is not too further away from that, but Arsenal fan base sets the standards, I think, for going from hot to cold, and we always try to keep up maybe. But yeah, it is pretty obnoxious where I think when the season started and when City was down, you heard a lot of Arsenal fans, and those noises got less and less and less and less. And now that the Champions League going out, they're up, 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 and it's just it is.
Can you imagine their fans if they go and beat PSG, and all they're going to talk about is being able to beat a team that Liverpool couldn't beat, and Liverpool only winning a league when the rest of the league is soft or whatever the case was. It just added nonsense to what's already being said about the league in the first place. So I think I have some friends. I have a friend that is an Arsenal fan that is actually a rational human being that you can talk football about and everything is great. But it's the other comments that are just so stupid and silly. It just makes it frustrating.
I actually had some stats. I guess I'll save them for tonight now. But kind of debunking all those Liverpool was winning on a down year and stuff like that. I mean, everybody else might be down, but that's not our fault. We're not really down at all. It's not like we're I think the whole League Cup and the Champions League, people took that week and splattered it against the Premier League, which Slot constantly fights away, by the way, because if you look at our league records, it's still really solid. So this whole the lack of form and stuff, it did not affect the league at all. It only affected you know, obviously like the League Cup final and the Champions League. And in the Champions League, we went out on penalties, for God's sake. So
Yeah.
Isaac or Julian Alvarez will be our dream signing. I do agree. Just as I look at this team honestly yesterday, maybe because you know you look at it with different emotion as they're winning a title, and I'm like, man, like 2 or 3 positions of an upgrade is probably enough. But I think you will have some people who want to go elsewhere and get some playing time and all that. So you will probably need more coming in. But I feel like I'm a huge Diaz fan, despite what John always says on Wednesdays and tries to sell him. I would like to keep Diaz. I would like to keep Gakpo. You have Mo on the other side. We'll see what happens with Chiesa, like if we see him rest of the season and stuff like that. But you know, you get like a center forward or two, probably. Or I'm actually okay with your boy Jota staying as a backup and get like an actual number 9 where Jota only comes in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, gets you that goal and stuff like that. Get another left back and get somebody else in midfield, another center back. I think we're in good shape, but we'll see how it goes. See, like Kevin says, for example, he does cheer for any English team in Europe except Manchester City and Arsenal. Well, that really
Manchester United, not City. He cheers for you.
United.
Apparently, he cheers for City.
Kevin does not cheer for City. Do you? I know you're not going to be cheering in the FA Cup final. Speaking of Klein, anyone ever notice how much Pep touches his nose in the interview?
No.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I do that a lot too, but no,
We know.
I don't let any go to waste. Man, we haven't won a major trophy in over 20 years. Just want us to win because I've seen us at our worst on the sandwich. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't know. It's like United. I don't know why. I blame Arteta on this. I did not find, and people say, oh, because they're winning now and stuff like that. They're not winning anything, but I still find, because of Arteta, some of the personalities on that team are just not likable at all. Actually, let me phrase that. They're really hateable. Whiny face Jesus, he brought him over there. Havertz is like an asshole on the pitch. There's no other way to put it. He is an asshole and a dirty player on the pitch. I mean, Arteta's Lego head on the sideline is enough by itself. But you look around the pitch on that team, I find so many players that is so easy to root against that there's no way I can like him. Jean loves Saliba though. Seems like
I mean, I would take Odegaard in the midfield, and I think Arteta's made him more petulant because I don't think he was like that early on, especially before when he was young and he was coming through Real Madrid and then he first went to Arsenal. Like he didn't have that petulance to him, but I think Arteta made him worse in that way. But
petulance is negative though. Like I like feisty. I don't want petulance because those are like different.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like there was feistiness, but now it's more petulance because Arteta has kind of turned that into petulance. From
you want to revert him back? I thought you kind of like the petulant side. Okay.
No. I would take the feisty. Like McAllister's feisty. He's not petulant. Odegaard is more petulant now than he is feisty because of Arteta.
Example.
Yeah. So, but I would take Odegaard.
Yeah, I'll take him. What the hell? Just bring him over. That's fine. Like Saka is a guy that I find it hard to root against. Rashford, when he was at United, I always found hard to root against because they, you know, basically, but they do off the pitch and how they carry themselves and stuff like that. It's not like it's a hard guy to root against as opposed to all these other guys that makes it really, really easy. Carcas, I'm telling you, dude, we just go to Bournemouth, make him our Southampton, take Semenyo while you're at it, right?
What did I say a month ago in the Discord? Just make a couple trips. You fly down south, pick up a couple guys, go out west, pick up a couple guys, or east, then come back west, pick up a couple guys, and you're done.
Who are you picking up in east and west? I just want a Bournemouth trip. See, I'm saving on gas.
just on the south coast. And on the way up, as we come back, we'll go through the Midlands, take Morgan Rogers from Villa, and just keep going, coming back up to Liverpool. And then maybe just go past Liverpool, go up to Newcastle, take Isak, and then come back. And then we're good. You still save on gas a little bit.
Damn, I mean, if you have an off season like that, it almost like would bring the expectations too high. That's what I would be afraid of. You have an off season where you have Kerkez, Huijsen, Semenyo, Isak, and Rogers. Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
we're playing FIFA again.
yeah, just you're gonna wake up in like heavy sweat middle of the night from that dream. That's yeah, yeah, they are toxic. I mean, I think I forgot the name. I'm sure Karan agrees, and he even said it too. Like it is a little, um, their fan base can be a little toxic over the top, and I really think the team itself, the fan base, like I say, I blame the fan TV stuff for that a lot, for fueling it. But for the team itself, like teams evolve over time, and they kind of take the personality of their managers sometimes, and Arteta's personality just rubs me the wrong way over here. But it is Monday, so day off. Are you like just gonna sit in the empty living room on the floor, lay down, do like
No, there's work to be done, sir. There's work to be done. Got to do some patchwork. Took out all the carpet yesterday, kind of stuff. So just little things like that to get to
oh,
get it
so we're
ready for
doing like DIY
a little
activity.
bit of reno. Well, no, we're having people do the actual
I mean,
putting in part. The demolition,
you're
I
just
can
gonna be
take care
over
of.
there with some mimosa, and you're gonna be like, "Jeeves, rip the carpet off."
You missed that nail over there, sir. What are you doing? Can I also say really quick that you know what this isn't the best part about this year, but what is going to be so wonderful is looking back and hearing about how much shit this kit got when it got released and how it's going to now forever be remembered as one of the kits that we won the league in, and it's now it's a beautiful kit, right? Now it's a great looking kit, and I just remember all the crap comments about the kit, and now we have to memorize this one, and we have to commemorate it.
Don't
It's
get
great.
me started on the kids, because I am like amazed with people blaming Nike. They're just doing that copy and paste from other teams, and then you look at Adidas's next year jerseys; they're all identical, just different colors. Like they didn't even they only like hit the color thing, and it's like, why don't we make the same thing in teal? Why don't we make it? Yeah, so yeah, actually, I do not mind that jersey. The color is a little weird, but I normally do not buy home kits. To be honest with you, I always usually go with the second, third. You can only own so many red jerseys, so usually go with like the away or the third kit. But like next year, the third kit probably is the one that I would go. See, he doesn't like the collar, title or not. So, but nobody should talk anything about fashion, because Matush is our official fashion expert here on American Scouser. If you want to know what to wear, we just message Matush and he pairs it up for us.
Cut the show.
I'll just wrap it up. That says we have a great midfield, great defense, great attack, but somehow every season we're one player short. I mean, I think like that's always the case, right? Because if things are not going well, you're like, if we had one more guy. But I think yeah, there's definitely levels to improve. That I don't agree that we have a great attack personally, but I think that's one area to improve. Because when we were comparing 1920 earlier, that's one thing we kept harping on, and I think that's proof that that's an area that's we gotta improve. Not like a Prince. Steven says, "Oh, you guys are getting him." I feel bad. You know what? Let's get off air, because when he gets pissed, I feel bad for all the butlers in the they're going to be catching the heat afterwards, because he went to Facebook, read those comments, and yeah, those butlers were running all over the place. But I'll be back tonight with the gang. Hopefully, I should be back in time for the live show, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Thanks to all those hopping on this morning from all over the Premier League, which is really nice to see, by the way, because I feel like we try to be as objective as possible, except when it comes to Arteta's Lego head. But apart from that, thanks for joining. Hit that like button.
Campeón. Oh, you have to keep going because it was just the background.
Oh,
music.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you threw me off when you started like waving your arms and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. When you started going like animal from up a show, I didn't know which direction this was going. But anyway, I'll be back tonight at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern with Bickler and Galley. We'll talk a lot more. Thanks to all those joining this morning. Hit that like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. And as I always say, go grab a friend by the ears and bring them over as well.
Up the fucking Reds, baby.